Watchman. Get ready for awakening teachings on the end times, Bible prophecy, and on the times and seasons in which we live. The King is coming.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to the Watchman radio show, where we talk about Bible prophecy, end time events, and everything that you really need to know about the time in which we live in. And I am Evangelist John Paul Akena, and together with
Derek Moreva.
And we're excited to actually bring for you the end time update.
Hear the sound of the trumpet, let us sound the alarm, for the day of the Lord is here. The sun turned to darkness and the moon into blood. See, the day of the Lord is here. Hear the sound of the trumpet, let us sound the alarm, for the day of the Lord is here. The sun turns to darkness and the moon into blood. See, the day of the Lord is here.
The saints beholding Jesus in the clouds,
Sure, the victory is here. Rejoice, be glad, for great is your reward. Shout for joy, sing praise. His kingdom has been restored. Rejoice, be glad, for great is your reward. Shout for joy, sing praise. His kingdom has been restored. Marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war. In His command, we do not break our ranks. Marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war. In His command, we do not break our ranks. We are strong, we are mighty, taking territories. Nothing stands in our way. We are strong, we are mighty, taking territory. Nothing stands in our way. Rejoice, be glad, for great is your reward. Shout for joy, sing praise. His kingdom has been restored. Rejoice, be glad, for great is your reward. Shout for joy, sing praise. His kingdom has been restored. Climbing walls like men, marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war, marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war, marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war. Take a position. Marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war, marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like men of war. Awaken, marching on like mighty men, climbing walls like
Welcome to The Watchman. Get ready for awakening teachings on the end times, Bible prophecy, and on the times and seasons in which we live. The King is coming.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. Welcome to the Watchman radio show, where we talk about Bible prophecy, end time events, and everything that you really need to know about the time in which we live in. And I am Evangelist John Paul Akena, and together with
Derek Moreva.
and we're excited to actually bring for you the end time updates which you need to know and understand in the time in which we live, in the current time in which we're living in. And of course, there is no most important thing to start with than the war which is happening in the Middle East right now between, of course, Hamas and Israel.
Yes.
And which has been going on for months and months right now. And there's been a lot happening in the background, because when the war started, we actually thought the war would not take this long. But the significance of it, the reason why we talk about this war, is because it can actually escalate, and it brings us into what the Bible speaks about, the war which the Bible speaks about, which is, most people call it Third World War. That's the modern language to call it. But the Bible has termed it River Euphrates War, which is in the book of Revelation chapter 9. And of course, when that happens, that would actually into it will run the calendar of God. It will trigger the calendar of God to run so fast to the second coming, to the rapture, to the second coming, and a lot of things. That's why it's what is happening in Israel is very important to us, and it's of a great significance, and we cannot just leave you not know about it. And that's why we keep on bringing to you every moment and then which we have the opportunity, and we give you out this very opportunity to make sure that you get to know what is really happening. So the update which has really been going on is that because one of the biggest thing, Israel has actually entered into the war started from the northern part of Gaza, because Israel, when the war started, Hamas went and of course ravished the people of Israel, killed about 1,200 Israelis, Jews, carried out captives and took them hostage to Gaza. Then of course Israel responded and started fighting the Hamas terrorist group, which are situated in Gaza. And they started fighting from the northern part of Gaza. Then they went on taking on the middle part, which is the central part, and that's where actually the Gaza city is. Then they went on and on to the southern part, which is there is a city called Khan Yunis, and there was actually now left a small city which is at the corner, bordering Egypt, bordering the Mediterranean Sea, and it's at the corner of Gaza, and it's there at the southern part, at the corner. So that was where all the Hamas had the battalions which were remaining, because they had about 20 something battalions, but they were all being eliminated by Israel, and only 4 of them remained. They all went and staged in that city, the southern city, which is called Rafah. So Israel had been wanting all along to make sure that they go and fight. So there's been a lot of interruptions, of course, by America, like we discussed last week. America, of course, then there's been also events, holidays, which Passover holidays. So that has been the case, and it had caused that delay. But also there was also delay in the agreements, because that was a time when negotiation for peace or ceasefire started. So that this made that offensive, or that desire for Israel to go and finish that city. So that has been the case. But now 2 weeks ago, Israel actually, after finishing all the Passover and all the holidays, and they realized that the agreement, the ceasefire agreement, is taking a stall and delaying. They made sure that now they will actually go and invade that city, which is called Rafah.
Yes.
So right now there has been an invasion of that city, but not yet full scale, because what has been happening is US, America, Biden actually went on, and actually what he did first is he actually made sure that, because they had promised to Israel that they are going to send and ship to Israel some ammunitions, and these ammunitions would be very good for Israel. But now, when Israel did the first phase of invading Rafah, what happened is Israel made sure, America made sure that, let me not say America, Biden made sure that he stole and stopped the shipment of these arms. And says that it's because Israel would use it to kill civilians. And now it's actually very clear that Biden and his administration is antagonizing what Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is actually doing. Now, Netanyahu went on and said, actually he came out and made a very big statement that what we are going to do is, he quoted a lot of histories that there were times when we had no support. There was a time when we were not a nation in the Holocaust. There was a time when, of course, we were helpless, and people killed us, and we were slaughtered and all that. And then there was actually no help. But right now we are going to fight for our help, and we are going to finish the work to make sure that we are secure. And when Israel started to fight back in October, of course, maybe 7th, after October 7th, their sole goal was to make sure they are secure and nothing as such happened again. So that was their desire. And when Benjamin Netanyahu was talking, and he said that we are going to make sure we go and finish the work. And of course, now the war cabinet, which includes, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu plus all these other oppositions, and which were formerly oppositions, now they are in part of the government. They now sat and they said they have approved the continuation of the Rafah offensive, to make sure that they have still approved it. That because what happened all this time, when, of course, Biden and all the pressure started coming in, they thought that they would stop the offensive. But now they sat again and they said, no, we are going to make sure we continue fighting and we finish the work. So now what is happening right now, like last week we said that Israel had, of course, went in that place, captured the eastern part of Rafah, captured the Rafah crossing, which is the border between Israel and Egypt. Then they went and captured the other part, which we are talked about, the Philadelphia corridor, which is a very good part towards the Mediterranean Sea. What they wanted is to encircle the city, so that now when they have encircled it, then they can now fight and take over all these other battalions of Hamas. And also, that's the place where they believe the hostages are being kept. And also they believe that's the place where the leader of Hamas is staying. Yes, so that is what is really happening right now.
It's interesting that you mentioned that the war now is in its 7th month.
Yes.
Initially, when it began, we hoped that it would be as brief,
very brief,
because our hearts, of course, turned with Israel, and we didn't want to see, a lot of damage done to that nation. And well, somebody listening to us might say, how about the people in Gaza, or don't they matter? And you see, you have to realize something, that actually a lot of the church are is siding
Yes.
on the wrong side. You
Yes.
know, many of them are ignorant. You
Yes.
know, a big part of them are actually ignorant
Yes.
of the significance of this nation.
Yes.
Yes, there have been wrong things that have been done by
Yes.
that nation in that part of the world.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, if the 6-day war, which had 3 Arab nations, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt,
Yes.
came together
Yes.
with all their firepower to try and defeat Israel,
Yes.
it only took 6 days for Israel to end that conflict.
Yes.
But we now have Hamas, you know,
Yes, yes.
at least the foremost terror group, Islamist group in you know,
Yes.
that part of the world.
Yes.
And it's of course it has been joined by Hezbollah from, you know, Lebanon,
yes.
and Islamic Jihad, you know, these
Yes.
other smaller groups.
Yes.
But they do not compare to what ammunition, you know, the
Yes.
3 Arab countries, entire nations had
Yes.
against, because there was the agenda at the time was to come and push Israel into the sea.
Yes.
You
and
imagine
take them
that?
off.
But now we have this conflict 7 months, and I asked myself, why does it seem to take longer? Why is it making news?
Yes.
You know, every headline every day will
Yes.
have something to do with Israel, Gaza,
Yes. Yes.
Israel, Hamas.
Yes.
And I discovered that actually the name Israel
Yes.
is the intention for the prolonging
Yes.
of the war.
Yes.
Because the name Israel has to be in everyone's face right
Yes.
now, because it's the center
Yes.
of everything.
Yes.
End time and
Yes.
that's the statement
Yes.
that we are in the end times.
Yes.
And that's the reason, one of the major reasons I've discovered that is the reason why the conflict has taken so long, because
Yes.
7 months and the pace at which it is moving, because honestly, and you know,
Yes.
thankfully, and I don't know if I say that in, you know, if that's the right word, but if there were no hostages,
Yes.
this would have taken a totally different turn.
Very well.
You know?
Yes.
But because they're hostages, there's been a back and forth, and that has
Yes.
taken us 7 months. But nonetheless,
Yes.
there's been talk of a peace deal, and I
Yes.
think we're approaching a time when this war is actually going to come to an end. What happened with the peace deal that was recently in the news?
Because like last week, the update we gave about the peace deal, it was that Israel had presented. There was actually mediation
Yes.
by Qatar and Egypt. They were taking over that peace deal mediation between, of course, Israel and Hamas. Then what happened is Israel presented their case that this is what we want. We want a short period of time of a ceasefire. In that period of time, we want this and that and that. We want, for example, they said we want our hostages out.
Yes.
And then also we want our hostages, whether dead or alive, we want them. And then also we want to make sure that we are the ones governing that place, and of course others. Heart is in their hostages, and they said we can actually end. There's something we had discussed about how Israel wants to make sure that they
Yes.
take over the
Yes.
place.
Yes.
Yes.
They want to totally
Yes.
take over the place
Yes.
because of the Hamas
Yes.
terror group that is
Yes.
there. However, it's Israel as a state has nothing really against the civilians there.
Yes.
You know, and Israel has made multiple efforts to
Yes.
actually have peace in that place,
Yes.
but because of the terror groups and the interests
Yes.
of nations like Iran and Qatar and this whole Shia
Yes.
sect, they have made sure that doesn't happen.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the truth goes, actually, the Prime Minister Netanyahu recently said that the bottom line for him
Yes.
are 3 conditions.
Yes.
Okay. He said, number one, that for us to have a lasting peace and end this war,
Yes.
number one, he wants all hostages, dead or alive, released,
Yes.
like you've said.
Yes.
The number 2, he said that all Hamas militants
Yes.
must surrender.
Yes.
Okay, so they lay down their weapons and surrender themselves to the IDF.
Yes.
The number 3, which was a latest addition, he
Yes.
said that he wants the leaders of Hamas to be exiled.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So those 3 things. If
Yeah.
Hamas, 3 things. Number 1, bring all our hostages.
Yes.
Number 2, lay down all your weapons,
Yes.
surrender to us. And number 3, all Hamas leaders have taken exile, as many of them are
Yes.
living lavish,
Yes.
in resorts in Qatar,
and all that.
and Iran and Lebanon.
Yes.
So that's what he has said.
Yes. Now, what happened is, when Israel presented that all these things, Hamas got what Israel had presented. They changed when they got it, they changed a few things, and they said, we actually want a 12 weeks truce between us, and in that there will be ceasefire. And then they changed a lot of words.
When they came out to announce,
Yes.
when they left the boardroom where they
Yes.
signed,
Yes.
and it was time to come and announce
Yes.
in the news,
Yes.
they announced something totally different.
So they changed where Israel says we want our hostages alive, they say dead or alive. Where they say it's 6 weeks, they say 12 weeks. So, and then what they want is they want to present a deal which presents them victorious.
Yes, as winners of the war.
Yes.
Rather than Israel
Yes,
saying it has won the war.
So, of course, Israel gets to just refuse that. And of course, there's been ongoing negotiations again, because Israel says that we have not stopped. Even if the war in Rafah, we are continuing with it, we have not actually stopped. And they actually encourage it to go on. But then, the thing which happened is, when Hamas knew all that, they actually just now deserted the whole thing. And that's why there's been more news coming up that now the peace deal and agreement and negotiations has actually reached a stalemate. Means that it has just collapsed, basically, like it has kind of reached a point of break. And that means that there's actually now no more negotiations going on with all this which is happening.
I find that these are all signs, because
Yes.
there's a back and forth of a peace deal, then a truce, then there's parties are withdrawing. I believe this is a sign that this conflict is coming to an end.
Yes.
And you're seeing how the US is reacting now
Yes.
to Israel, withholding weapons, putting different conditions here and there.
Yes.
And I saw in the news, there's when the conflict started,
Yes.
there was this whole demand for supporters of the
Yes.
Palestinians and Hamas,
Yes.
that especially Hamas, that they own that territory from the river to the sea.
Yes.
So they keep saying, and you've seen those posters,
Yes.
from the river to the sea,
Yes.
Palestine shall be free, and what.
Yes.
Do you know actually that they are turning around the word of promise that was given to Abraham? Because look at Exodus chapter 23,
Yes.
verse 31.
Yes.
And this is the Lord speaking. He says, I will set your boundaries from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines. And we know that that's that part there, that Gaza strip there. So he says, I will set your boundary from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river.
Yes.
Now you remember it started all the way from the Jordan.
Yes.
And there's even a tribe that is across the Jordan
Yes.
that took that place. So all the way from the Jordan River up to the Red Sea actually is promised to Israel.
Yes.
But now the Palestinians are, rose up very fast and owned the phrase,
Yes.
from the river to the sea. No, actually, it's from the river to the sea that belongs to Israel.
Israel,
It's not
yes.
the other way around. The
Yes.
Palestinians do not own anything from the river to the sea.
Yes.
But rather, as you've seen in the scripture,
Yes.
it says that, and I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hands, and you shall drive them out from before me, from the river to the sea. I have set, it says, I have set your boundaries.
Yes.
So this place is important to God.
Yes.
And that's why I believe for all the 7 months, Israel has been making the news, because it's a major
Yes.
a sign of the end times.
Yes.
Whatever is taking place in that nation.
Actually,
of Israel.
the scripture says that it says in Zechariah,
Yes.
Zechariah, I believe, chapter 12, verse 2, which says that I'll make Jerusalem a cup of trembling before all peoples. Now, the Lord promises that I'll make Jerusalem a cup of trembling before all peoples. So, you'll actually be seeing a lot more about Israel than ever before, because that is a Bible prophecy for the end time. Now, of course, we were discussing about that truce and agreement, that when it actually stalled, what happened is Egypt, just what they did is they decided that now they are going to join South Africa, South African case, of course, joining South Africa and their case against Israel, because of their offensive in Rafah. And of course, they are talking about that they are killing civilians, which of course, Israel has actually made sure that over about, the number which I remember is 400 but I think by today, it is about 500,000 civilians to be evacuated from Rafah. And even before, Israel made sure that they forewarned before they came in. They made sure that they forewarned these civilians to make sure that they leave Rafah so that they are safe. So, of course, they are set to discuss the ICJ, the International Court of Justice. They are set to discuss that on Thursday, and of course they will discuss it, and we will see the update about it.
Yeah, and it's Egypt, interesting nation that has risen up, because for 45 years since the 1978 Camp David Abraham Accords, Egypt and Israel have been normalized relations. Egypt recognized Israel, but now they are trading words of war, over the humanitarian crisis and all of that. So, but I don't think it's going to boil over into anything yet.
No,
because
right now,
what the relation between Egypt and Israel holds more than what the relation of Egypt and actually Palestine.
Yes.
When the Palestinians were now running away from the bombardments in Gaza, headed into Egypt, what Egypt did is it just raised the fence on its border with Gaza, and put barbed wire and installed, closed every point of entry. And Palestinians were knocking on the door of Egypt, saying, "Open for us," and Egypt said, "No."
Of course.
So it shows you, it shows you that they understand that this is just, because war is politics. They understand that this is a political situation, and they don't want to have anything that will shake their relation with Israel
again. Yes, there is one thing, because much as we have been talking about Gaza alone, there's actually been war. Okay, there's been an ongoing war in the northern border between Israel and, of course, Hezbollah. That is in the southern Lebanon. Of course, you can call it northern Israel. Now, there's been that ongoing war, and Israel now wanted to protect their communities which are in the north. So what they did is they started, first of all, to evacuate these Jews who are the communities who are in the northern part, and then there's been that ongoing escalation between those two in the north. Now, recently, Israel had demanded that Hezbollah gets to go back 6 miles away from the border. And that was an agreement which has been made some time ago between, and it was declared that they should stay 6 miles away. Now, right now, they had come back to the border and they were shooting at Israel. They were launching rockets. They were attack drones and all these other fights which has been, and of course Israel has been responding to them. But now it has been reported that Hezbollah is planning to gradually withdraw most of its combatants from the border of Israel. Now they are just now withdrawing. So that means even that war in the north of Israel is actually reaching a point of a close. So that has been also happening. But all this which is happening, we should just get to know that we are really living a very interesting time.
And I found that because when you realize that in Genesis chapter 12, there's a covenant here. And so, because if you look at the conflicts taking place around the world, previously all the headlines had Russia, Ukraine.
Yes.
Then there was Sudan.
Yes.
But somehow all of those have faded
Yes.
in comparison to when Israel and
Yes.
Hamas began their war.
Yes.
And in Genesis chapter 12 gives us the reason.
Yes.
He says, now the Lord said to Abram, now he is establishing a covenant.
Yes.
He says, get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land I will show you.
Yes.
I will make you a great nation.
Yes.
I will bless you, and I will make your name great.
Yes.
And you shall be a blessing.
Yes.
Then he says, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And in you, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. All the nations of the... Imagine, in that one covenant,
Yes.
we have an international, matter.
Yes.
That if a nation wants to be blessed, counted as one that is blessed, it has to pay attention to what's happening in Israel. And there was global attention to Israel again in the UN resolution that was debated this week.
Yes, because what happened in the resolution is the Palestinian Authority, which of course is the governing body in Gaza, and they had petitioned that they want to join UN membership. So this had to now be discussed. And what happened is it was presented before the UN, and actually an amazing number of people ran and supported. About 145 nations went and actually supported. They backed Palestinian Authority's bid to join their membership, to join UN. And them of course abstained. Yes. And this is actually a very big sign, because now what that would push us into is a two-state solution, which is now it will reconcile what is happening between Israel and Palestine. And of course that cannot yet happen right now, because we know that it can only happen after the Third World War, which is of course after the River Euphrates War,
which is Ezekiel 38-39.
Yes, Gog
says
and
that
Magog
the two-state solution
will
happen at that time of after the Gog and Magog War, and then that is when now the Antichrist comes to sign the peace deal between Israel and her neighbors. So there is no two-state solution, and that has taken place.
So they had to talk about it, and it's amazing that so much number supported.
Yes, it's actually 143 countries voted in favor of the resolution.
Okay, I forgot it. I thought 45. 43.
143 countries voted in favor of the resolution. This is how you can sum it up. All the countries of Africa, apart from Malawi, which actually abstained. Everybody else, even our own Uganda here, because you see, the scripture says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you, and in you all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Now Uganda, positions itself in a place to receive a curse. You see? So this is why, you see, our politicians, this is important. The body of Christ understands this, because some of the things that hit nations, are a result of judgment because of their stand with this nation. This nation, we are dealing with a covenant here.
And let me tell you, we are very much watching what is going to happen in South Africa, knowing how they treated Israel by, of course, standing against standing against Israel with that ICJ.
So 143 countries voted in favor. 9 countries voted against, of course, with the US leading, and Israel itself, and Hungary, Argentina. There's that Cyrus in Argentina, that new president there, who actually has been likened to Trump in a lot of ways. And then you have the Czech Republic, Papua New Guinea, Nauru, and Palau. Then 25 countries are the ones who said, they decided not to. But however, this now shows us that all the nations of the earth now are sitting together to decide what happens in Israel. See, and so that's important for the body of Christ to realize that this is what Bible prophecy actually talks about. Here, every at the Watchman radio show,
Yes.
we're not just telling you what's happening in the news
Yes.
as if this is some sort of 10 p.m. news update. No. This is prophecy in the news.
Yes. And updates in relation to Bible prophecy. So you spoke about this, that there are judgments which happen to people who actually from the way they treat Israel. And you know that last week Turkey actually made sure that they cut trade deals and every trade relationship with Israel. So that means there will be there is no ongoing trade between Israel and Turkey. Because why? The president was saying it's because of Rafah's invasion, Israel's Rafah's invasion, and of course they went on and on by saying killing civilians and all that. Now, what happened immediately is that there were actually other people, other grouping and importers and exporters. They decided to use other trade routes to reach Israel and trade with Israel. So that means it's even flopping.
Yes.
But one biggest sign happened, and that big sign is the one which took me aback and made me to actually see that the judgment is actually starting. Now, I want to read an headline. It says, Ankara's main prosecutor's office is investigating a possible conspiracy to overthrow President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's government, citing the Criminal Code article on forming illegal organization. So what happened is there's actually been a rumor, and of a coup in Turkey to actually take over the government. And what he responded by actually calling all his intelligent members to come for a very brief meeting. So this is what happened.
Yeah, and it's even more than a rumor, because by the time the interior minister, called the press conference and he vowed to thwart the coup attempt.
Yes.
And so this is actually real. That means it's actually, it's
happening.
It's not a truth. It's not no longer just a rumor. Yeah.
Yes.
But
and
the judgments have begun.
And it's very significant that it doesn't just come. It's very significant that it comes immediately after when he had just cut last week. He had just cut trade relations with Israel.
And we've spoken here a lot about how there are going to be judgments in what we call GOAT nations.
Yes.
Because they are GOAT nations because of how they have sided
yes.
With or against Israel.
Yes.
And we're going to see a lot of that in the news. There is also something major that took place as far as Iran is concerned, because we know Iran is the one that is behind all of this, that has been backing Hamas to, in that attack in October.
Yes.
In that attack in October. And what happened is that there was a news headline where an Iranian lawmaker came out and said that that Iran now has nuclear weapons. And this is what he said. The headline says, Iranian lawmaker claims Tehran now equipped with nuclear bombs. Now, it could have just been talk, as they usually do talk, trading words with the international community, because they really like to be in the news. However, what made it a truth here is that there's this joint comprehensive plan of action, which that man Obama signed and Trump pulled out of, the JCPOA. And so that JCPOA made sure that Iran does not develop a nuclear weapon. So, but when Trump pulled out, then they began now to enrich the uranium. Now, that statement came shortly after the UN's atomic watchdog highlighted that Iran's capacity to produce multiple nuclear weapons is now heightened. Okay, that now meaning that Iran now has the capacity to develop multiple, not just one.
Multiple, because actually there was a time when we were watching about that, and it came to a point that they published that Iran was left with 6 weeks to actually build nuclear weapons. But right now they are, from that it says that actually ready to build multiple.
So he said that, in my opinion, and I'm quoting, "In my opinion, we have achieved nuclear weapons, but we do not announce it. It means that our policy is to possess nuclear bombs, but our declared policy is currently within the framework of the JCPOA."
Yes.
End quote. What he's saying here is that we have the nuclear bombs.
Yes.
It would not even take us an hour to put it together. But
Yes.
what is stopping us is this agreement here.
Yes.
Small agreement.
Yes.
You know? So now that's major, because in Ezekiel 38 and 39,
Yes.
we are told that Israel would shoot the bow out of the hand of
The
its
left hand.
enemies, the
Yes.
left hand of its enemies. Now, it's important because
Yes.
now here we are having Iran
Yes.
coming out to say that it has nuclear, it's ready.
Yes.
It's no longer attempting to enrich uranium to approach a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Now it
It's
has
ready.
the enriched uranium that is capable of making
He's
multiple
talking about.
bombs.
Wow, that's very interesting. For me, I find it interesting because you see, last month in April, Israel went and attacked. He actually went and bombed the nuclear facilities in Tehran, that city, and because they went and bombed, that was a very sign for the preemptive strike, which of course we have
Yes,
interpreted it.
yes.
That is what the Bible says, that I will knock the ball out of the left hand, because our father, the Watchman, has actually taught us this, and he said that what that scripture means is that all these armies will come, like from Revelation, it says that there will be 200 million armies, and of course, getting it from Ezekiel 38 says that they'll come like a cloud from the mountains of Israel, and they'll come from a far north of Israel. And when they come like a cloud and all that they come, what will Israel do? Israel will do that preemptive strike, which is now, because the bow in this is, it's like a symbol where someone comes with a bow and now is ready to now strike you.
Yes.
Then
on one hand, we have Israel, which is ready to strike, as it did, although in a small fashion. And then on the other hand, you have Iran, which has the nuclear. Wow.
So that is the strike. What Israel will do is to now to disempower Iran and all this army, including all this army. And a snippet of it is that it was what Israel did last time. And Israel actually warned Iran and said that we can actually do whatever thing we want to do. We could have even bombed your nuclear facility, but they just went and bombed the radar for the air defense system. What was the security for that place? They just went and bombed the battery and the radar and made sure that it is powerless. So this is the same thing which Israel will do, that they will just go and actually do a preemptive strike and make sure that, because Israel has been watching Iran very much and watching their nuclear facility, and it's a big subject to the Israel Defense Force, and they know that once Iran possesses these nuclear weapons, that means Israel is insecure. So Israel will make all means, will do everything she can do to make sure that they make Iran not to have these weapons.
I mean, this is a country which writes death to Israel on its missiles. You know, and I mean, there's no telling what they'll write on a nuclear weapon. However, you know, this is very significant because again, this lawmaker, this declaration made by this lawmaker followed a warning by this man called Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, who had stated that Iran has enriched enough uranium for several nuclear bombs.
Wow.
That was really, really significant, because now we are looking at Ezekiel 38, 39 taking fashion. And as you've stated out, in the past weeks, we saw Israel giving us a snippet of how that could actually take place. So I thought that's really, really significant.
And Israel will not actually allow them. In their desire, they don't want Iran to have this. And the solution they will have to do to make sure that they disempower and make Iran not to have them, the nuclear weapons is by striking them. And of course, when they do that, that would be a war.
Unfortunately, Israel has been very distracted with the Hamas war, and I think one of the motives Iran had to actually push this war with Hamas, Iran now has reached had time to enrich its uranium. So we'll be watching what happens and how Israel responds to that. So
there's actually been another major sign of the times, which is the aurora, which is the lights. Of course, in the north and southern hemisphere. It normally happens in the north and southern. And the ones which has really happened is it was actually very interesting. And it was unprecedented. Now, it was like in the night. And these are the lights which, these lights, they talk about it, the scientists talk about it, that it forms from the sun to, of course, then it sends, they have the way they explain it, how the sun sends some electromagnetic something, and then it forms light. It ends up forming light. But of course, it is light. Let's talk about it as light, the aurora. Now, it formed, and this was unprecedented. Since 20 years ago, it had never happened like the way it happened this time. And that's why we're talking about it. Interesting. Very
it's
interesting.
A really major sign, because for 20 years, they of course, there are places, especially at the very tip of the poles, where they are able to observe these lights, but in a very they're even seasonal. But now 20 years, it is 20 years now since there has been a storm. It's like called a geostorm, a geosolar storm, where now the sun has released so much of these flares, and they have interacted with our atmosphere. Of course, you've said there's a way scientists explain it, enter into that. But it's it's beautiful. You're seeing all these colors, and
it can form green, blue,
red,
purple.
In blue,
in the sky,
and they're all they're dancing in the clouds, and and it was so bright that at night, those who were sleeping woke up thinking it's daytime. And people were able, people could actually read a book or a newspaper under the solar flare. It's a major occurrence that has been taking place, especially in places that are at the North Pole and the South Pole. However, there is also something significant apart from the aurora. The scientists at those space agencies, NASA and whatnot, have actually recorded that the sun has produced the biggest flares. The biggest flares. Now, flares are like those if you've seen images of the sun, which are like as if the sun is exploding and emitting fires. They're saying it has emitted the biggest flares it has emitted in 20 years. The last time they ever saw the sun behave like that was in 2005. Now, that is very significant, because if you look at Luke 21, Luke chapter 21 from verse 25, it says, "And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. And on the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth." Okay, remember recently had the solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot from the solar eclipse to this aurora to now. There's another thing which I also saw, and it had been published by space.com. It says the god of destruction, asteroid Apophis, will come to the earth in 2029, and it could meet some tiny spacecraft. Now, this asteroid, of course, there's been talk of asteroid coming, and there's actually been a lot of them which are being projected by those scientists that they'll come to the earth, and of course, some of them just don't come. But now this one is speaking about that it will come, and there's someone who has been watching about it, that this asteroid will actually come and tear the earth. It will hit it will hit America, Texas, and all these states, and cause a lot of destruction. Now, like, it's exactly what you have been saying, that men's heart failing them for fear.
Yes, of the expectation of what is coming upon them. And then it says, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken.
Yes.
Now, first of all, tells us which powers. It says the sun, the moon, and the stars, and it says the powers, those powers in the heavens will be shaken. Now, NASA is saying here that they are looking at the sun, and it is, a